to Feed Yard Foodie. We're glad you're joining us today. We're going to take a few minutes to just talk about what it's like to grow up on a farm. You know, I remember in 1997 when Matt and I were deciding whether we wanted to live in a city or live on the farm. One of the things that really helped us cement in our minds what we wanted to do was the fact that we wanted to raise our kids on a farm. And so many years later, we have grown kids or getting grown kids, and so I thought it would be fun for them to share with you about their experiences on the farm. So we sat down as a group yesterday. Actually, mostly it was Megan and I, but we did sit down as a group and kind of talk about what they thought they learned on the farm. And so we're going to share some stories and anecdotes for you today about that. So the first thing we talked about was trust. So Meg, do you want to talk about how learning to care for cattle and growing up on the feed yard and in the farm has helped you learn how to build trust with others?
Sure. So I think it's a really important part of being part of agriculture that your animals trust you. It's so much easier to care for them when they understand that you're trying to help them and not trying to control them. So if you really get in and you spend time with your cattle, then you can build trust with them and they'll come up to you and try to eat out of your back pocket instead of wanting to shy away from you. So we have lots of little friends here that think that it's the greatest thing in the world when the pickup comes in the gate because we have range cubes and they're like little dog treats for the cattle. So we've built a lot of trust with our animals, and it helps us to also build trust with the people that work with us so that we all have the same game plan and we're working together.
Yeah, I think that's so important. So, you know, in life, when you think about how you can influence people and how we learn to work together as a team, one of the things that I've learned is when you can make your idea become somebody else's idea, then it goes a lot smoother, right? Because then it's just an ask and it's a team effort, and it's something that everybody's on board with. And so we certainly try to do that with our animals when we handle them. We also try to do that as a team on the farm, as a family, not just with us, but also with our employees, making sure that we're doing that. So trust is a big one, right?
Right.
The second one was empathy. So who wants to talk about empathy?
Ashley can.
All right, Ashley
Wow,
Grace.
I guess
empathy.
I got thrown under the bus. I guess just being able to grow up thinking about not just how your actions affect you, but also affect other people. Like, I remember my mom was never home on Christmas morning because just because it's Christmas, it doesn't mean that the cattle don't have to eat. So a big part of growing up on the farm, I think, is learning that your needs don't come first. It's somebody else's, and that's more important because feeding the world is always going to be more important than whether or not you can open up your stockings at 6 a.m. on Christmas morning.
And I would even add on top of that, not just feeding the world, but being good caretakers, right? God calls us to be caretakers for the animals and the creatures that he put on this earth. And so as farmers, I think that we get to do that every single day, and that's one of the things that I've really loved about being on a farm. Okay, number 3. Who remembers what number 3 was?
I was gonna say something.
Okay, Karen, go for it.
Wow!
And since we have to take care of the cattle every day and feed them, one other reason is because they then feed us. So it's kind of like a thank you for taking care of them throughout their life.
That's right. That's awesome. You know, our cattle give the ultimate sacrifice when they go to the packing plant to feed us, and Karen's absolutely right. That takes a lot of empathy on both sides, and it creates this symbiotic relationship that helps us be good farmers.
Megan,
Okay.
are you feeding them?
Megan is
I am
feeding
feeding
them.
them.
So what was number 3? Do you guys remember?
Tenacity.
Tenacity. Oh, that's a good one. That sounds like a mom-man word.
Yep.
Yes.
Mom spent an entire week talking to little 8-year-olds about tenacity this year.
Yep, for swim team. Yep, tenacity is a big one. So how do you learn tenacity on a farm?
You scoop bunks during a snowstorm.
Yeah, scooping bunks during a blizzard.
Somehow I always got out of that.
You know, most kids get really excited when school gets called off for the weather to be bad. My crew, not so much, because it meant they were going to be at the feed yard scooping bunks. So, you know, I think that's a good point, Karen. No matter what the weather does, no matter what Mother Nature gives us, we always have to offer care. They're counting on us for feed and water and for care. And so being able to dig deep and realize that the world is bigger than just you, and being strong and tenacious in your faith helps you to kind of keep moving forward, right?
Megan, you want to talk about state track?
Sure, I can talk about state track. This year at our
Nebraska and had to talk about this one. So we were going to talk about my chickens because I never really connected with the cattle that much. It was always Megan and Karen that went out to the feed yard with my mom on mornings. But in the middle of middle school, I decided that I really wanted to get some Rhode Island red chickens. But before I was allowed to get them, my mom had me write up this big proposal with all the materials that I need to build the coop, my plans for how I was going to feed and water them and where I wanted to get them and how much it was all going to cost and whether or not the eggs would in the end pay off. So I think
and I think that my kids have learned how to plan while they were on the farm. Okay, last one. Who remembers what it is? Team.
Yes.
Awesome. So I think that that's the one that I'm supposed to be in charge of. But feel free to jump in at any time, especially Karen, since you haven't gotten to share a whole lot to this point. But team is huge for me. Team is huge for me. And honestly, when I think about my farm and my family and the people that I work with and the kids that I mentor, and all of the folks that I come in contact with on a daily basis, if we all recognize that God leads the team and that He puts His love in our hearts in order to share with others and helps to guide us with the plan. And you know, I ran a lot of miles a few years ago trying to figure out how to reconnect with God and with my faith. And I finally figured out that it was my job to keep my feet moving and to listen to God, and that He would help me on the way. And I think that we've really learned that as a family living on a farm. There are days that get really long, and there are days that are really hard. But if you remember that you're part of a team and that God is always with you, you remember to pack your faith, to live with grace. I think that that's what helps us to be honorable, to be sustainable, and to be able to find joy despite all of the challenges that come with feeding America. So one of the things that I would like to close with, kind of a final thought, is we may live on a farm in Nebraska and you may live somewhere really different, but we all share a lot of things together and we're all on the same team. And so we're stronger if we come together and we share empathy with each other, we share trust with each other, we share leadership. We do all of those things that helps us to be successful. Yes, I've got a buddy right here. So, Karen, do you have anything you want to share before we close?
Can I say something about tenacity?
Absolutely. Karen's going to talk about tenacity.
All right, so cross-country season has just started, and I'm going to be in 8th grade. And so we're trying to beat the heat with practice. So we have practice at 6 o'clock in the morning. And middle school technically does not start until the 20th. But since my mom is one of the coaches, one of my friends and I have been getting up at 5:30 to run with the high schoolers.
Yes. So I think that speaks to tenacity, and I think it's awesome that you've made the effort to show up and help the team. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about and what we all have in mind. Does anybody else have any closing thoughts?
I had one. So every team needs a really strong leader, someone with a voice that can be heard over everybody else's, and I think that Mom does a really great job of that. When I was at state track, I was down on the field, and the only person that can be down there with you is your coach. And all of the coaches are really supportive, and that makes my heart really happy because everybody cares about all of the athletes, not just their own athletes. But I was in this huge stadium, and it was bigger than any of the other ones we've competed in, and I was a little bit nervous. But I could still hear Mom. There were thousands of people in the crowd, and I could hear Mom. She was yelling at me, and I know what my dad's whistle sounds like, and I could hear him. And being able to hear those familiar cheers and voices was encouraging. And part of being a leader is to be able to encourage the people that are kind of under your wing. And I think that our parents do a great job of that. So growing up on a farm, you can learn all of these things, but I think that we've had a really unique experience learning more than other people might on a farm because we have good leadership.
Awesome. Hey, I think that's a compliment for me and my parenting. I'm glad that I have that on video so I can replay that. We appreciate you guys being with us today. If you have any questions for any of us, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. We appreciate being able to share our lives with you, and we hope that you want to share our lives with us, because we all believe that together we're stronger. So God bless you and have a great day.
Wherever you are, be the voice for what you believe in.
That's right. Take care.